Item: SCP-287. Object Class: Safe. Special Containment Procedures: SCP-287 is stored in a climate-controlled secure locker in Site-22 in order to prevent additional deterioration. At this time, no additional testing is required, but may be approved by Dr. Sigurd Olafsson. Sources of electricity are to be kept away from SCP-287's locker at all times. If testing with SCP-287 is required, insulated gloves are to be worn to prevent accidental discharge into the hilt. SCP-287-1's remains are to be kept in storage until further notice. Research requests for SCP-287-1 can be routed to Dr. Zarshan and are restricted to Level 4 personnel, or Level 2 personnel from the Exobiology Department. Description: SCP-287 is a Viking arming sword, measuring 78 cm from pommel to tip and weighing 1077 grams. SCP-287 is in a state of significant decay due to exposure to outside elements for anywhere from 900 to 1100 years. SCP-287 was found in Iceland, alongside several written records. See Discovery Log. SCP-287 is comprised primarily of iron, with several potentially anomalous components incorporated into its structure. Several of these materials have been detected by Foundation probes traveling within extrasolar regions of our galaxy, as well as probes which, redacted. Carbon dating has placed SCP-287's creation to around the early 10th century CE. Samples of exoplanetary metals and materials have proven to be more difficult to date, and analysis is ongoing. SCP-287's anomalous effect can be observed when an electrical current is applied through the metallic portions of the hilt exposed just below the guard. These exposed elements are in a noticeably better state than the iron portions of SCP-287. SCP-287's internal components will begin to emit several frequencies of EM radiation and varying sounds invariably described as distressing by research staff and test subjects. Radiation produced by SCP-287 causes all humans who are exposed to it to experience acute audio-visual hallucinations and severe headaches. SCP-287's specific hallucination takes the form of translucent human-like figures in the immediate vicinity, invariably outfitted as members of an armed force. The armament and armor worn by SCP-287's hallucinations varies by subject, with a general trend towards the individual's perception of what they consider to be modern armament. Testing with animals as well as non-anomalous EM fields and sounds of the exact same frequencies do not produce the same effect in any combination of cases. Higher amperage currents have increased this effect to a maximum of 437 individual hallucinations. See document R27-287 for specific amperage count levels. Further testing was deemed unnecessary. SCP-287-1 is believed to be an extraterrestrial organism, found in the same location as SCP-287. The exact origin of SCP-287-1 is unknown at this time. A full report on SCP-287-1 can be found in document R27-287-1. See Addendum B for a partial report. SCP-287-1's potential spacecraft, designated SCP-287-2, See Addendum B for a partial report. Appears to be completely destroyed. The current working hypothesis for SCP-287-2 is that it was intended as some form of escape pod from a larger vessel.